Celtic are preparing for a crucial stretch of games, and Martin O'Neill's been building chemistry with his backroom team in a West End restaurant. But the real headlines: Anthony Ralston's future at the club is suddenly in doubt, a former player's learned his lesson about judging talent too quickly, and Aloni's caused absolute chaos in England. It's all happening, but first make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Martin O'Neill was spotted in Glasgow's West End on Tuesday night as Celtic gear up for their Europa League clash with Stuttgart. The Celtic manager was seen at La Lanterna with the Italian restaurant, sharing the moment on Instagram ahead of the first leg at Celtic Park. But it wasn't just O'Neill in the photo. He was joined by members of his backroom team, a group that's been working closely during an incredibly busy run of games. With Stuttgart coming to Glasgow and a run of away fixtures to follow, there's little downtime at this stage of the season. Supporters often see the manager on the touchline, but rarely the staff around him. The image offered a glimpse of that unit away from Lennox Town. A meal together, a chance to switch off for an hour, then back to work. The timing matters here. Celtic's recent form has relied on late goals and strong finishes. Against Stuttgart, control from the first whistle will be needed. Preparation doesn't only happen on the training pitch. From left to right in the photo were translator Satoru Nakamura, O'Neill himself, assistant Mark Fotheringham, first team coach Stephen McManus, and head of physiotherapy and medical services Tim Williamson. These aren't always the names that dominate headlines, but they're part of the daily work. That mix says something about O'Neill. He keeps his staff close. There's trust there and familiarity. McManus knows the club inside out. Fotheringham brings fresh ideas. Williamson oversees the physical side at a time when games come thick and fast. With Stuttgart first and Rangers soon after, Celtic need clarity and calm. A shared meal won't win a match, but strong relationships can steady a group when pressure builds. Now for the main story, as Celtic may be willing to allow Anthony Ralston to leave the club if he wants more game time next season. The right-back is due to enter the final year of his contract this summer, but the boys are reluctant to try and force him out ahead of what would be his 12th season as a senior player at Parkhead. However, if the 27-year-old is keen to explore the possibility of a new challenge away from his boyhood club, then sources say that Celtic would be willing to sell him, especially if they opt to explore a permanent move for Julian Araujo. Ralston hasn't started a league game in the Scottish Premiership since the 3rd of January, and a permanent deal for Araujo would likely see him fall even further down the right-back pecking order. Araujo has made a big impact at Celtic since he joined on loan from Bournemouth in the early stages of the January transfer window, and he's quickly become a key part of Martin O'Neill's plans. The veteran boss has started the 24-year-old in each of the last 7 domestic games, and Araujo rewarded O'Neill for the faith shown in him by stepping up to net a dramatic late winner at Kilmarnock last time out. Araujo's initial loan deal doesn't contain a clause to turn his 6-month stay at Parkhead into a permanent move, but the impressive start he's made north of the border has prompted fans to call for the club to explore a permanent deal. The Mexico international has also left the door open to playing for the boys beyond the end of the season, and that possibility could have a knock-on effect on Ralston. Alistair Johnson is expected to return from injury before the end of the season, adding even more competition for Ralston ahead of next term. Former Manchester City financial advisor Stefan Borson told Football Insider on Monday that Celtic could be forced to oversee a drastic wage cut if they fail to qualify for the Champions League next season. Failure to finish inside the top 2 in the Scottish Premiership would see the boys miss out on the prospect of Champions League football for 2026-27, and that's a very realistic possibility at the moment as they battle Hearts and Rangers for the title. Borson suggested that the Celtic squad will have a clause in their contracts dictating a change in their wages if they miss out on Europe's Premier Club competition. The Glasgow Giants fell to Kairat Almaty during qualifying for this year's competition, and their participation on that occasion means that members of the squad who were in place at the start of the season could see their wages drop. In other news, Celtic's season has been anything but steady. Brendan Rodgers resigned. Wilfried Nancy arrived and then was gone. The Green Brigade issue carried on in the background. The Champions League run ended early. Off the pitch, there's been more noise than anyone wanted. Things have felt shaky on the field too. January was heavy on loan deals rather than permanent signings. Injuries have disrupted the midfield. Late goals have saved points that looked lost. It hasn't been simple. Even so, Celtic are still firmly in the title race. They sit 3 points behind with a game in hand. That's the clear picture as the schedule tightens. For all the doubts and criticism, they're right there. Ryan Stevenson thinks that, in truth, fans are enjoying the battle. Not the drama off the park, not the uncertainty, but the edge that comes with a proper fight for the league. He said, Rangers and Celtic fans will probably look at it and say, if Russell Martin wasn't in and if Wilfried Nancy wasn't in there, it would be totally different. But it is what it is. I understand to an extent that entitlement because it's always just been Rangers and Celtic for the last 40 years, but we are where we are and it's great. I think if you asked any Rangers and Celtic fans, they're enjoying this as well. You can't not enjoy it. If you're an actual football fan, you can't not enjoy this. You're hoping that your team comes out on top, absolutely. But the most fascinating thing about this is that these three managers have now got to do everything bang on the money. A tight title race can be exciting. No one denies that. Close gaps keep people watching, and every weekend feels bigger. But there's another side to it. Sometimes a race is close because the standard at the top has dipped. In Celtic's case, a lot of this season's tension has come from poor recruitment. Too many short-term fixes. Too few players brought in to clearly raise the level. When you rely on loans and stopgaps, you live week to week. You leave yourself open to swings in form. Look at the games themselves. Celtic have needed late winners against teams near the bottom. They've struggled to control matches for 90 minutes. That's not just drama. That points to gaps in balance, especially in midfield and at centre-back depth. A stronger transfer window can dramatically improve the team. One dominant midfielder who dictates tempo. One defender who owns the box at set pieces. Those signings don't just add bodies. They settle games earlier. Hearts have overachieved through organisation and belief. Rangers have rebuilt mid-season. Celtic, meanwhile, have patched rather than upgraded. That shows when games turn scrappy and there's no one to take control. So yes, a competitive title race has its appeal. It tests nerve. But when the champions are clinging on through last-minute goals and momentum swings, it's fair to ask why they're in that position. Entertainment and quality aren't the same thing. A close table can mask flaws as much as it highlights strength. In other news, Celtic loanee Johnny Kenny started his first game for Bolton Wanderers against Reading on Tuesday, and it was rather dramatic. The 22-year-old made his debut over the weekend, and now his first start, as his tackle on Paudie O'Connor in the second half required the Reading defender to get stitches. It left Reading boss Liam Richardson unhappy because he thinks Kenny's tackle was disgusting, with the two teams sharing a point in the end after Bolton scored a 96th minute equaliser. Bolton took a leaf out of Celtic's book with that one, but Kenny's tackle was a talking point post-match. Kenny and O'Connor were running for the ball on the flanks with the Reading man in front of the Bolton striker. Eventually, the Reading defender would hit the deck, and as Kenny came stumbling towards him, he stamped on the player, and it did seem an accidental stamp. Richardson said after the game, "It's a terrible one. It's an absolutely terrible one. Disgusting one. He's getting stitched as we speak now. He's getting stitched. His teeth have suffered. You can see through his mouth." Kenny needed to go out on loan because he wasn't showing signs that he was ready to perform for a declining Celtic side. It's not the Republic of Ireland star's fault that the champions of Scotland are in such a mess, but this loan spell should do him the world of good. Nonetheless, Who Scored rated Kenny's first start for Bolton at a healthy 6.71. That's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.